Traditionally, the American economy relies on a specific type of balance. When consumers spend and the government remains stable, the system operates with little friction. By early 2026, that balance had fractured. A record-breaking 76-day government shutdown paralyzed Washington, freezing federal agencies and paychecks across the country. This gridlock had immediate local consequences. With unpaid TSA officers quitting, the government deployed armed immigration and customs enforcement agents to civilian airport terminals, placing untrained officers in high-traffic passenger hubs. This domestic paralysis coincided with an escalating war in the Middle East. Regional stability fractured following a series of direct threats between the White House and Tehran. Global resources were strained further when the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency regarding a rare strain of Ebola spreading through Central Africa. Stacking a total government shutdown on top of an active war and a global health crisis creates a specific mathematical reality. Historically, this combination of loads triggers a severe economic contraction. Energy markets reacted immediately, with Brent crude oil spiking from $70 to $110 a barrel. Consequently, retail gas held at $3.60 a gallon. These fuel costs completely cancel out the new $320 average household tax refund. Household budgets are tight enough that millions of Americans are now filing for shares of billion-dollar class action settlements just to cover their weekly expenses. The American consumer has lost momentum. Yet, despite a stalled public and a paralyzed government, U.S. GDP is still growing at a rate of 2.3%. This creates a significant divergence. While the primary drivers of the economy are failing, the headline numbers suggest a system that is still expanding. The Morgan Stanley Mid-Year Economic Outlook provides the data necessary to explain why the system hasn't buckled. The report confirms the pressure on the working class. While inflation and energy costs rose, real labor income growth stayed nearly flat at 0.8%. The analysts identified a specific shift in where growth is actually originating: CapEx over consumption. Capital expenditure, or CapEx, refers to corporate spending on long-term physical assets, the hardware and infrastructure required for future operations. In 2026, the economy's center of gravity moved. It is no longer sustained by household spending, but by massive corporate investments in infrastructure. The scale of this investment is massive. 5 tech giants, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle, are spending $805 billion on artificial intelligence infrastructure this year alone. By 2027, that annual spending is projected to exceed $1 trillion. This type of spending is structural. Unlike a consumer who buys less when gas prices rise, these companies are building for the next decade. Their build-out continues regardless of the current political climate. This trillion-dollar injection of capital serves as a shock absorber. The sheer volume of spending on physical data centers and server hardware directly offsets the economic drag from the government shutdown and high energy prices. While Washington remains deadlocked, the tech sector's expansion is acting as an artificial heart, pumping capital through the nation's infrastructure. This signals a structural pivot in how the American system functions. The economy is no longer built for efficiency. It has become optimized for a very specific type of resilience. But this resilience is highly uneven. The top 20% now own nearly 90% of corporate equities, insulating them from market volatility and Washington chaos. The remaining 80% remain exposed to global shocks, bearing a system they no longer drive. Positive growth numbers no longer indicate a healthy nation. They simply reflect the size of a corporate infrastructure budget that is keeping a crumbling structure from falling.